Hey everybody, Pinstripe here. What is going on? We are all about the Super Airburst today here on a generated map versus the Tommy's Trotters. If you've no idea what's going on or why everybody has a Super Airburst, we'll get onto that in just a moment because this first turn is just absolutely devastating for my team. The sapper brings it in and they are just obliterated. My gunner is heavily wounded and my paratrooper did not stand a chance, because, well, he dies and perishes on this first turn. So on the back foot, starting off, I have to give a shout out to Unicorn Owl, because he made these cheats possible in allowing all pigs to have an infinite use specific weapon. And if you want to have access to these cheats to use on the DuckStation emulator and play this for yourself, then go ahead and join the Hogs Discord and we can help you set things up. But as you can see from my arsenal there, it is pretty intense. There is just infinite use, Super Airburst everywhere. And if you've never used a Super Airburst, if you have no idea what it does, basically the first shell detonated will deal a maximum of 50 damage. That will then in turn release 2 more shells, which will deal 40 HP's worth of damage each if you get it on target. And then after that there are 10 shells that come out and are detonated and they deal 20 damage apiece, which means that maximum damage from the Super Airburst is anywhere between 300 and 330, but that is pretty difficult to get on a single pig. But either way, considering that the double health in multiplayer puts the max amount of health for a single pig at 150, you shouldn't have any trouble in actually getting any kind of kills. But you can see that I'm taking up a strong defensive position on the hill, because that is usually my go-to when trying to combat against the Super Airburst. If you position your pig on a hill and the detonation comes in, especially from the AI, that first initial explosion, yes, it will deal that 50 damage, but it should blast you off the hill and away from the rest of the explosions. Sadly, this weapon is just few and far between across the entire game. In single player, you'll find it on the likes of Mission 6, but considering that the enemies that you face there are the likes of snipers and bombardiers, they're not going to be too threatening and can just easily be disintegrated with a well-timed and indeed well-placed shot, unlike this one here from Smith, who just does not see the hill in front of him and ends up damaging himself for 56. So big thank you to Smith, because he's dealing the damage for me. As far as multiplayer goes, you can find the Super Airburst on the likes of Death Valley 2 on the top platforms in each corner of the map, and then of course you can find it across generated maps like this one in crates that you can pick up, and in random crates on the likes of Square Off, for instance. So it's just fun to really sit back and just deal devastating amounts of damage, considering that it doesn't happen very often. But we've talked about the max amount of damage, we've talked about how to try and defend against the Super Airburst, but what is the best method of detonation? In my mind, what I do is I treat the Super Airburst like a cluster bomb. So that first detonation, you want to be trying to press the X button as soon as that first explosion goes off, so that the second one can be instantly detonated alongside that to deal, at least 100 plus damage. The major downside to this though is that you are more likely to blast the pig much further away, and so those extra 10 detonations don't always hit their mark or deal kind of minimal damage because the pig has been blasted away from that spread. One other thing I always think about before using the Super Airburst is that yes, it is powerful, but it all depends on your enemy's position. So if the pig that you're targeting is not really stood in the best place to then maximize the distribution of all of that damage, then it's probably best not to use it. I always try as well to get the kill with that weapon in that single turn, because yeah, okay, dealing 100 damage is great, but if you're leaving that pig with say 10 to 15 health in a competitive scene, that's not really what you want, because it creates more work for you. You then have to go out of your way to then kill that pig on your next turn, or try and use that 30-second timer to kill that pig and then damage somebody else as well. And like I said, in competitive terms, it can get very complicated and very tricky. And even though the Super Airburst isn't used that much in competitive, I think that's probably for the best, because the likes of the Super TNT kind of sit alongside it in terms of rarity. Yes, the Super TNT is much more reliable because all you have to do is plant it next to an enemy and it will deal at least 199 damage, but there are just so many other factors involved in the Super Airburst that it can be tricky to really get the most out of it. So in a way, I'm thankful that it is quite a rare weapon, and indeed being one of the most powerful in the entire game, if not the most powerful. But I just want to draw your attention here to this shot, because this is on the sapper that has a full amount of health, and I detonate it. The double detonation just smashes him into the rock face, and then he falls off the map. So let's see that again in slow motion, just dealing the maximum amount of damage there from those first initial shells, not getting anything out of the next 10 because he has been blasted off the map. Down he falls and just completely disintegrated. Also, this paratrooper knows that it is a bad idea to use the Super Airburst at close range, so he skips his turn, he can't do anything, and we're going to end this video with a giant explosion, as you always should do in multiplayer, because why not? But I want to know your thoughts on this weapon in the comments below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you wish you could see more of it in multiplayer? Let me know everything you have to say. And in the meantime, I'm going to go and have myself some Lemsip, because I'm currently getting over a sinus cold. I don't know where it came from, and I apologize if I sound kind of nasally in this video, but yesterday I was completely fine, and then today, waking up, I just feel like absolute ass. So hopefully I can recover, and more commentaries will be coming in future. Plenty of stuff to talk about, but in the meantime, I will catch you guys later for the next one. Peace out, everybody.